Well, Donald Trump ran on promises to improve the economy and lower costs, and he's already broken his word. In fact, the president is undermining confidence in the U.S. governance, fueling uncertainty, raising food and health costs, and stoking inflation with his billionaire first tax plan. 1 month, his economic policies are driving up costs, and here are some examples. Eggs are up 19.3%, minimum car insurance 14.3, fuel oil 6.2, average monthly 30-year fixed rate mortgage 3.6, ground roast coffee 3.35, and not surprisingly, consumer confidence is dropping by 7 points. It's the steepest drop in consumer confidence in nearly 4 years. We were seeing, under the Biden administration, a rapidly improving economy and more confidence in our fellow citizens. That's dropping now. And Trump claims he's trying to cut costs while spending $10.7 million in taxpayers' money to go on golf outings to Mar-a-Lago, and millions more to go to the Super Bowl and take a joyride around the Daytona 500. That's not wise and frugal use of government funds. But here's the good news. The dark economic clouds that we face could be rolled away if there are big changes. The economy started 2025 in good health and with positive growth. But so far, Trump has shown his priorities are not the priorities of Rhode Island families. Unfortunately, working families, Main Street, and even big industries are already feeling negative impacts from Trump's political turbulence and reckless tariff taxes. He's unsettling U.S. allies and investor confidence. And just yesterday, he announced steep new tariffs will go into effect on March 4th. And that he's laying off the team in charge of lowering Medicare drug prices. So what does this all mean for Rhode Island families and businesses? Higher costs. Because of the Trump tariffs, Wall Street estimates and projects that car prices in the United States could jump by $2,700. And Yale researchers have found that the president's threat to place reciprocal tariffs on our trading partners would cost families $2,600. Meanwhile, tariffs on lumber will increase the cost of housing. Trump imposed similar tariffs in his first term in office, and the National Association of Home Builders estimated increased new home prices by $9,000. And he's set to do the same thing again. And at the same time, instead of trying to lower costs, Trump and congressional Republicans are about to implement a divisive spending bill. They want to permanently extend Trump's billionaire first tax cuts, and that is money for the richest people in America, while gutting Medicaid, SNAP, and education programs. Now, we're looking for tax cuts, but tax cuts that are focused on working middle-class Americans that are struggling now to keep up with these price increases, not the ultra-rich. And that's apparently the only people that Trump listens to. The last thing we should be doing is cutting programs like Medicaid and LIHEAP, which help people get access to health care and to literally stay warm in the winter, and in the South, they use LIHEAP to stay cool in the summer. And regular Rhode Islanders are worried. They want stable, effective leadership, smart, data-driven investments that pay strong societal dividends and help businesses compete and grow. They want to crack down on things like price gouging and monopolies and to wisely increase the supply of housing. They want to end to Musk's self-dealing. Just suddenly, NASA has announced that they are teaming up with Starlink, which is probably several millions or hundreds of millions of dollars into his pocket. And what a coincidence. Now, Trump and the Republicans have to change direction. They need to start putting American families first, not billionaires. And we are fighting the fight to make sure that happens. And at this point, I would entertain your question.
Senator, on the way over here, I heard the president today was going to sign an order to make English the official language of the United States. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yes, really the language of the United States is not on your lips, but what is in your heart. Do you believe in this idea of freedom and of the dignity of the individual? Are you willing to cooperate with your fellow citizens and your fellow Americans? So this is another one of his sort of journeys into rhetoric, not reality.
Senator, just late this week, NOAA became the latest agency to come under the chainsaw. What will that mean for South Coastal New England?
It means bad news for everyone, including South Coastal New England. NOAA is the organization that provides us with the weather forecast. It provides farmers with long-term forecasts so they can plan their farming needs over the course of many months. It is the watchdog for hurricanes and disturbances, and it does fundamental research about the ocean at a time in climate change where the ocean is undergoing incredible changes in temperature and the migration of fish, etc. Again, this is rejecting knowledge and embracing ignorance.
Senator, this may be old news to you, but we've all been tasked to ask you about renewed questions about whether you're going to run for another term.
Yes.
The answer is yes. Can you expand on that?
Yes.
Yes.
Without a
Well,
doubt.
no, there are many factors involved, but one thing that I learned at West Point and commanding paratroopers is don't run away from a fight. And we're in a big fight now. The course of our country is going to be determined. The lives of individual Rhode Islanders have already been adversely affected in so many different ways. And so I feel like I have to continue.
This would make a fifth term for you, or? Forgive me.
It'll make I don't keep
A long time.
I don't keep count.
I gotta do the
I
math.
work every day. I don't keep count.
Indeed.
And Senator Reid, first I apologize for being
Hi,
late.
Barbara.
Nice to see you. I know you were recently in Johnston visiting the Tri-Community Cap Agency, you've been visiting some other, on a local level, is it still too soon to unpack? Because I know they're having meetings, everyone's trying to figure out what we're going to lose. Do we know yet on a local level, or this is where the fight will take place in committee and so forth?
No, it's very difficult because cutting off these funds, firing probationary employees, which is really, I think the word is dumb, one word. All of that is just causing massive chaos and confusion. Money is held up in the pipeline because they don't have a person that can sign the document to release it. I was talking to firefighters last week. We got them a fire grant, and they went through all the process. They bought the equipment, I think respirators and backpacks, etc. Then they went to get the money and said, "I'm sorry, there's no more money going out." They're already on the hook for the equipment. Now they turn it back. So this is not just something that's happened, on Wall Street or etc. This is in our community. This is firefighters and people who need the help.
So you're seeing it?
Oh, absolutely, left and right. I talked to some men and women who were let go from the federal government, and they're feeling the effects.
There's a lot of angst out there about this and a lot of people feeling it. Like, what can they do?
I think people are feeling it every day more and more. They go to the market and they say, well, wait a second, I thought the price of eggs was going to come down to the good old days. They're not, they're going up. And we're seeing it, and not every day more and more happens. When you go in and start eliminating government positions, that all sounds nice, but it's a person who's contributing to the country, and they've
Right.
lost out. Many of them are veterans because they're veterans' preference. So I'm hearing about veterans, people who served in combat, who are working, and suddenly now they're out the door.
Right. So what
And-
should they do?
Here's the situation. First of all, Trump has disregarded the law consistently. That's why he's in court. The process of court action is slow and tedious. He's got to battle through the district courts and then the circuit courts, and then there's one case now that's up at the Supreme Court. And he knows that. His whole life has been playing the courts, and then hoping that the courts either settle his way or the course to his opponents so much they give up and say, I'll take 10 cents on the dollar. I just want to get out of this. That's his style. That's his approach. And it's not appropriate for a president of the United States.
How confident are you that Congress will ultimately step up and protect funds that it has appropriated?
That's a serious question because in these nomination process, many people who I think know better on the other side of the aisle have basically put their heads down and voted for people who are clearly not qualified. And that's not a good sign for
But when you
future.
talk to your colleagues on both sides of the aisle, is there a movement now to step up and protect some of the things that Congress has outlined as a priority?
Well, what's going on now is they're beginning to feel the heat from their constituents. One example is the NIH problem, where they're cutting dramatically from NIH funding contracts. And, most medical schools do research, need that money, et cetera. It's
In red states and blue.
Exactly. So you're seeing some of my colleagues in red states saying, gee, can we fix this somehow? But nothing overt. Very few people are speaking out sort of loudly and strongly. It's more or less, I think they hope they can perhaps work it out individually with the administration, which is not the right thing to do.
Presidents Trump and Zelensky are meeting today
Right.
ostensibly to sign an agreement about the mineral wealth of Ukraine, I guess giving some over to the United States. Both the mineral agreement and the relationship with Ukraine seem to be fraught.
Well, that is a result of President Trump indicating that the Russians did not attack Ukraine, which is absolutely false. He deals in falsehoods all the time, which is not a good character for a president of the United States. And then, of course, that Zelensky was a dictator. And in contrast, of course, Vladimir Putin is just one of the most remarkable people he's met, he'll tell you. A result is that the Ukrainians are now being excluded from these discussions. And the signals coming out of Trump are, don't count on us for any help. And then, of course, everything to him is like a real estate transaction. What are you going to pay me for this? And so he's got this deal on minerals. It's more, I think, at this juncture, futuristic rather than a reality on the ground. And, it's what we should be doing is putting more pressure on Putin, as he's in a vulnerable moment, so that when they go to the table with the Ukrainians, he will be looking for a deal that is fair to the Ukrainians. And I hope that's the case.
Don't count on us. What does that say? What does that say to you?
No, I clearly, Trump is trying to undermine the efforts of the Ukrainian people to defend themselves against an unprovoked attack by Russia. And he sees the future as one where he'd like to be Russia's pal. We're opening up our embassy again, we're doing all these things, etc. And he's choosing to support autocrats, not Democrats, with a small d.
So is America part of the axis of evil now?
It's not yet, but we have to really begin, and it's not just me, it's my colleagues, particularly the Republican side, stand up and say this is wrong. One of the most amazing things is that, and I give them credit, in the forefront of efforts to help Ukraine were my Republican colleagues under the Biden administration. In fact, they were complaining Biden wasn't doing enough. Now, they're very quiet, very silent about what's going on. So they have to step up and say that this is the right thing to do, not just for the Ukrainians, but for the United States. You know, we've seen our position in Europe in a matter of weeks collapse.
Is that salvageable at this point? I mean, because we've done this twice to them now, and it feels like, you know, you fooled me twice, right? I mean, what's
No,
going on?
I think it is salvageable. The question is it salvageable under Trump? I think they have an underlying now uncertainty about whether he'd ever come through with his promises, if he promised anything. And that has an effect in Asia too. The Chinese are looking and
Right.
saying, my God, you know, this guy seems to be walking away from a commitment, et cetera, and you know, who knows?
And just returning locally, because there's so much, as the senator said, angst and concern. Senator, when people read this article and they're like, you know, I don't know what's happening with my child's Head Start program, I'm not sure what's going to happen with my life funding. As you thread through it and also try and oppose it, what's your advice? Should people contact their providing agency and see where we are?
Well, it's difficult because what we're hearing is the localities, the local agencies are contacting their federal contacts and they don't know.
Okay.
One thing though, I would say, if there's any questions at all with a federal program, call our office.
Oh, thank
We'll
you.
do our best to get you the answers as quickly as possible. And be very honest if we can't get the answer.
The other big conflict that is unraveling at this point is Gaza, obviously.
Yeah.
President Trump seems to be determined to go forward with the proposal that he outlined of displacing 2 million Gazans and creating a Riviera on the Mediterranean. Is Congress going to let that happen if that violates international treaties, the Geneva Convention, all sorts of things?
Yeah, I hope not, and I think it's so unrealistic that it'll just, hopefully, like many of the things he says, in a few years be something oh, I never said that. It's, you know, it's a very difficult situation. The King of Jordan has been our critical ally through decades and decades. And I met with him and he said very clearly, we cannot accept any Palestinians from Gaza. We have huge problems already. We've accepted perhaps over 1 million Syrian refugees. We have done our part. So the proposal to just move them someplace else is just not feasible. And also there are the legal and moral implications of taking people from their homeland and putting them someplace else. So I hope not. I hope this dies of its own, bad.
Hope is a pretty thin thing to stand on, though. What actions can be taken?
Well, no, I think, first of all, I think what's happened is that the Arab nations are now trying to pull together a plan, not for the removal of the Palestinians, but for the reconstruction of Gaza. And that could help. But, our resources, and if you think about the complexity of finding a place to send the Palestinians, the resources necessary to do that, etc., it becomes very difficult. And I think this was more rhetoric than reality.
Right.
It was bad rhetoric because it suggests that we endorse ethnic cleansing, and
Right.
that is a profound prohibition and something that Americans in the World War II generation fought hard against.
So is this like a fascist takeover of the United States? Can we use that word?
No, that's not appropriate word at all.
Okay.
This is, this is Trump. This is his view of the world. This is his view of how things work. And Elon Musk, who is running around, chainsaw in hand, and
Right.
et
And
cetera.
hiling in the
But the courts, as you said, are slow.
Yes.
The midterms are 2 years away. The Democrats are in the minority, and the Republicans are scared. How do you stop this kind of perfect storm?
No, first of all, we have to go ahead and immediately come to a budget agreement because we have to fund the government. We have a debt ceiling we have to pass, et cetera. It's very difficult. And then I think what we're doing is, like we're doing today, calling out. This is how democracies function, calling out what we think is wrong and convincing the American public. And to your point, yes, there's more and more constituents, and not just here in Rhode Island, but across the country, go up to their congressman or senator and say, or congresswoman, and say, stop this. You'll see a political effect. And that's ultimately this country, and the genius of the country is that the people's voice will ultimately be heard. That's my hope. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Nice suit, by the way.